my friend Vasanthi, who is an RJ, many of you all would have heard, says, Namaskara Bengaluru, right? With boat or without boat have you come here? Did Taj provide you parking for your boat? So before we just jump into our panel, I just want a show of hands. How many of y'all are champions? Awesome. No, I don't see all the hands. Hello. All of us are champions, right? But when we go out at the end of the day for this, we will become more champions. You know, this good champions now will be greater champions variety. So here on the panel with me, we have like a unique kind of combination because we didn't want to make me moderate because you know what, I'm horrible, I take over the stage. So we wanted to have it as an expert panel. And why we are chosen here specifically is Wequity, the company that I run. I'm the CEO and founder of it. It's the only company in India today that recognizes women in tech and awards them. So I have two of my award winners on either side. That's why I sat in the middle because, you know, left and right we have two beautiful women. Pallavi was declared the Solidarity Champion for this year, and Pradnya was declared the Tech Beacon. And both of them, and the thing is that they're not only good in the job that they do, or they're great in the job that they do, but they also give back to the community, right? And I think that's one of the important things that we as women, you know, need most is this whole collaboration, community, and as Shalini was saying, we need this in-person connect. Because we as women love to grow in that way. And these two women have shown that path and have done a tremendous job. At least their application said they did a tremendous job. So our jury was, you know, said that they were like true winners. And that's why they're on the panel. And one of the things that I'd like to put, because I had to do a lot of research. I'm not a women in product person myself. I'm in the women in tech space for many years, so I had to do a little research. And one of the things, you know, many articles, my colleagues from Wequity have also sent me articles to prep for this. All the research showed, like only 1 in 4 products are successful, right? Then there's another research said that they looked at 28 next-gen products that were released, and of which 14 companies across the world. And then they came up with what are the reasons why all these products failed. And unfortunately, only one research paper that was released by Booz Allen said that it's because there was no right mix of people in the whole product. You know, the 7-stage model, 5-stage. I mean, y'all are experts. Whatever stages of product design and development there is, and they just said right mix. Nobody ever talked about women. Nobody talked about intersectionality. Nobody talked about inclusion. So I'd actually like to ask Pradnya, I'm not the moderator, but I'm just passing it on to her, saying she's been in this space for a long time. She was an entrepreneur herself. Like, is that true? Any right mix to be successful? Do we need women in that mix?
So that's a great question, Geetha. I'll actually give a quick intro so that you have context on my experience, and then I'll answer that question. So I actually started on the engineering side. I have a PhD. I was a core engineer through my early career. And at that time, actually, all I cared about was building great algorithms, building great technology. And my thinking has changed quite a lot over the years as I've sort of gathered experience and been exposed to various products and technologies. And that's when at some point that switch came in where I realized that whatever we are doing should be business backward or customer backward. So when you're talking about any product, right, it should be done, or any technology should be towards some problem that you're solving for the customer or for the business. Okay. Now, as my thinking changed, actually, that's when I realized that if you need to understand what the customer wants, that is when you need that right mix of people, right? It can't be a unidimensional thinking that you have when you have a unidimensional set of people that is working on any problem. And that's where I think it's very important to have the right mix. And that right mix, of course, includes women, includes also various other diverse aspects, right? And that, as in now, as a product leader in Swiggy, where I'm leading a couple of core platforms in Swiggy, I literally work with every single organization across Swiggy and with external customers, right? So there, I need to ensure that I have the right set of product managers in my team who will understand the different needs of different sets of people that we are working with and building products for. So you want to take it back, or Pallavi, if you want to answer it in any different way, you're welcome to.
I think, Pradnya, you said it right. I think one of the things, so again, just a bit of a background for myself. I had been, the beginning of my career for almost like 18 years, I was in engineering, just like what Pradnya is doing right now, building products. And then 6 years back, I decided I want to do something different. So I moved into the services organization, but still very tied to technology, because I now take care of support services, professional services, managed services for the, and all the people in my team are technical people, right? I think the reason why I also changed that role was for the same reason, right? Building the diversity. The whole product engineering, or in fact the product management skills that we are talking about, and as I was thinking about it, it's probably one of the very, very unique roles in a tech industry that has a huge wide spectrum. And the number of different kinds of people that you need to work with to make this happen, to actually bring a product to life. From the time you conceptualize what actually you want to do, to the time you actually go and install a product in a customer network and it gets adopted and you feel like you're successful, it's a lot of journey and a lot of different people to network with, to work with, to collaborate with, to make it happen, right? Starting from engineering, who is going to build the product for you, to even before you build a product, first of all, outside in view, right? You don't do technology or product for the sake of technology, right? At the end of the day, you are trying to solve a business problem, right? Meeting the customers, understanding what's the business problem you are trying to solve, right? And that is where also the diversity exists. Sometimes you are building products and you need to know your consumers. You need to know, hey, is it a consumer market? If it's a consumer market, all the more important to know that, hey, 50% of your consumers may be women. Another 50% may be men. Are you building a product that can be used by both? What are their unique needs? How are you going to do that? In a B2B as well, if there are end users that are there. So knowing your audience, knowing what they want, and trying to really add value to them, because at the end of the day, customers will buy that product only if it's actually solving their problem and adding value to them, right? Then you work with engineering to say, hey, I have a business problem. Pradnya, how will you technically solve that for me, right? So I know that engineering, hardcore engineering has very technology religion. They are very, very tied to their own technology, which they think is the best. There can be competing technologies. There are always multiple ways to solve the problem. There are 4 different ways to solve the problem. And as a product management, how do I make sure that they are using the right things to solve the problem?
Right. I think we were just talking about it, right? Many times in the engineering mindset, there's this idea of, oh, let me try this cool, shiny new technology that I want to just try out for the sake of trying. And honestly, when I did my startup, that's how I started as well, meaning augmented reality was a cool technology up and coming. We started there, and then we realized business-wise it isn't making sense, right? That's when we sort of pivoted and stuff. Whereas when you're thinking product first, customer backward first, business backward, what you want to focus on is the problem at hand and not the technology. And sometimes reining in the engineers and not going down that path unnecessarily is one of the key points of a product.
So now you cross the engineering chasm. Now the question there is, how do I charge it? This is there the financial. Again, imagine the amount of breadth of skills now that I'm talking about, right? Now, financial modeling, saying that how do I price this product? What should be the price point so that the customers feel that the value they are getting to the price they're paying, there is a good return on investment. So the ROI factor of your product now kicks into place. And then the financial thinking of how do I price it right? And how do I bring it to the market? All done, great. Pradnya built the product. Now what? Sales has to sell it. Someone should be there as a post-sales support services, deploying based on what we need to do. You may need to look at the ecosystem partners who are going to actually take it to the market. Do you need partners? What do you need to do? the gamut of things, just engineering is one part of it, but the gamut of number of people that you will need to interface with and network with to understand how do I take it to the market, who will sell it for me, who will deploy it for me, who will service it for me when something happens, and thinking through all of this, and how do I train people to use this product? Is it simple enough, right? Again, there is a huge gamut, right? There are B2B, which in B2B, the products tend to be very, very complex. In fact, you sell solutions that are hugely complex. Like I come from Cisco Systems, right? And we build very lot of your Airtel networks, 4G deployments, 5G deployments. We are all going to be doing that. And they're very, very complex, involving 15, 20 different products that we need to make them all work together. Some of these could be even using your competitor's box to work together. So understanding that ecosystem, whether you are entering a greenfield market, you are entering a brownfield market, who are the partners, what ecosystem do you need to go to? Sometimes you may not be able to, the customer may give you a big problem to solve, and you feel my product only fits into one small piece of this puzzle. So who are the other people that I work to go to market with? The spectrum is tremendous, which also makes it very interesting, right? Because it's an end-to-end thinking from the concept to the market to the time you call it successful. I think it's an awesome place to be in, right? It's a huge, I feel that's a really great role to be in. And hence, now the question was always about what are the skills, right? That's what we wanted to segue into. And which also means that even though we think at women, we are not, so one of the things that Geetha asked me to speak about is, how can women be very successful? Is there specific quality of women that makes us good at this particular role? I personally think there are two things that I have noticed. Again, I usually don't try to generalize. Pradnya and me were arguing about it. Both of us have never felt very conscious of our gender. I'm a woman, so I need to do this. And there are not enough examples to honestly generalize anything at this point in time. But for me, the two things that stood out that works very well for us is, we don't credit ourselves, but we are great at networking. Just think back, forget about your office, look at your personal life, the amount when your kids, who is there always on the WhatsApp group, figuring out the amount of activities that kids you need to do, or everything around your house, who orchestrates the entire household today, and making 101 things come together. That's you, right? If you can do that, the same thing is needed in product marketing. It's orchestrating end-to-end, orchestrating, bringing on all the right players, not having an ego saying that I know it all, but you know who are the right set of people. You don't need to do everything, but finding all the right skilled people to bring them together, make them comfortable, and make them work as a team towards an end goal. I think this comes very naturally to women leaders. And I think this is something that you need to leverage very well.
She never got to your second point. What is your second point? One is
when you're driving, if men are lost, they will never stop and ask for help. They feel that, oh my God, how can I go ask where to go? Women don't mind calling people and saying, hey, I'm lost, can you tell me? The same thing plays out here, right? Especially when you're working in huge org silos, when you have to work with 15 different ecosystem partners, you just can't have ego, because everyone will come up with a different idea. You're the orchestrator here. You can't go with a very fixed idea and saying, I am going to come with this idea, you all need to execute. Never works, right? Whereas being able to take everyone along, figuring out how to make them all work together is another skill.
Yeah, and I like to add that there's another skill that actually I learned from one of the founders here in Bangalore. With anything, but I, as a woman, and having 2 daughters of my own, I would never want to be with an Uber driver alone, right? So even having a different perspective on the team is what he was like. He said we could have really saved money. Some, small things like that child lock being put. You remember all the early days of Uber where you had the child lock and thing. I mean, Lyft in the US had it good, right? But that's one other perspective that we can bring to the table is we not only think from our point of view, but we have the ability to think from someone else's point of view, right? It has its negative connotations, let's not go there, but at least we can think like that, right? Because that overall perspective, very few men can bring to the table, because as Pradnya said, you're just technology focused, or you're just focused so much, you're not able to give that broader perspective. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I do want to add, because actually, since you talked about safety, right? In Swiggy, I started initially as a VP engineering, and as of a couple of years ago, I'm now leading the product charters also Okay, so basically what it means is the full vision, strategy, the end-to-end strategizing and implementation of it, right? Now, as of a few months ago, I'm also leading the Trust and Safety Charter in Swiggy. And as I was writing the vision document for this charter for Swiggy, right, I was thinking exactly this, right? If I'm getting into an Ola cab, even during daytime, right, I will never get into the cab if I know that this driver is not the same as what is showing up on my app, right? Or the license plate is different and stuff like that, right? Ola, Uber, whichever cab it is, right? So similarly, I was thinking from a Swiggy perspective as well, right? Meaning we are coming to your doorstep and delivering. We need to ensure that you are safe. We need to ensure that the right drivers are coming to your place. We also need to ensure that the drivers are able to trust Swiggy in their own way, right? In terms of how we are paying them for the job and stuff like that, right? So as we are talking about trust and safety, that is where some of this technology and stuff then we bring in, right? And so which is why actually the Uber example was especially relevant, because right now I'm actually thinking about what it means for safety from a Swiggy customer's perspective.
Even from the Swiggy person who's delivering perspective, how do you know you're getting into a home and you're not being pulled in for something else, right?
It is a challenging problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. But do you want to add on what women will bring? Because I think with all this remote working that's happened and then products that are catering to it, one of the things that we do exceptionally well is, bringing people together to make sure, and somehow we shy away from that skill that we have, but we can bring people together and really motivate people. We're not seen as great politicians, but that's what I mean, that the rallying cry we can bring together. Do you think that's something we can?
Right, so like Pallavi said, right, basically we are sort of working across different functions, across different types of functions also, right? So whether it is engineering, sales, marketing, product marketing, GTM strategy, right? So basically when we are planning out a product, we need to ensure that the right stakeholders from all these different functions are in the room when we are making any key decisions, right? So that is something that I can enable as a product leader in Swiggy, or even when I'm talking to external people.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that, I have this great friend who I worked with earlier who runs women in product in the US. And one of the things we were debating with was the fact that, how do we all become product managers? I mean, is there somewhere you press a button, I become a product manager, or what? How does it work? Because very often it's in organizations, especially in the services industry, it's a separate thing in the thing. So is it like I have to have a certification course, or how did we all do it?
So I think the answer would be different for different types of companies. I can talk about the smaller companies like, say, Swiggy, smaller meaning whatever startup or slightly advanced startups, where the opportunities are a lot more, right? Meaning people are more open to a tech plus or eng plus product kind of role. So I used to always talk to my manager, meaning when I was on the inside, right, that I would like to try this out, right? Now, one thing I have always been very particular about is talking about my aspirations, not just to my manager, but also to other allies within the company, right? If there is such an opportunity or if there is such a role, I would like to try it out, right? So when actually the product and eng opportunity came up, that's when basically I was given that option. Do you want to sort of do the end-to-end leadership on this? And it sounded exciting to me. And I am a strong believer in the growth mindset. I've never done product in my life. I don't have an MBA, but I wanted to try it out. There is always, I could say, okay, I'll try this out for a year, couple of years. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. So I'm fine with sort of trying it out. And I'm also fine with saying, no, this is not working for me, let me go back, right? So I think that sort of when these opportunities come up, grabbing those opportunities, being on the lookout for these opportunities, and giving it a try and having that humility to say that, no, this is not working, let me go back, right? So I think it's a combination of all of these. And now that I'm in product, it's actually very exciting because I have that end-to-end control. I have the sort of vision, the road mapping strategy and stuff, and that ability to execute end-to-end. So I can actually see how it's shaping, how Swiggy is evolving, either on the map side, so I lead maps and trust and safety. So on both of these, I can see how what I'm doing is actually sort of getting to the end user.
So parenting
I think that's a great one. So I think
what about parenting skills?
Parenting skills.
So we see it from growth to, like that. That's what we all do, right?
I think, see, in terms of how, so to continue, if you want to continue on the same theme of how do you figure out, you want to do this, right? I think, see, look, at the end of the day, when you all pass out of engineering, right? I have a lot of people who come to me and ask, this is like about a parenting, right? I do a lot of mentoring. A lot of people come to me and ask, I'm confused. I don't know if many people come and tell me, I start with, I don't know, I don't like coding. Yeah, I have done my computer science, I've done my IT, but I don't necessarily enjoy programming. I feel it's a very, I'm just sitting by myself and doing what I really like to do. What other options do I have, right? And it's very similar to like my children coming and asking me, I'm in 10th, 11th, I don't know if I want to be an engineer or a doctor. I don't know what to do, right? And I have always used the same elimination theory, saying that first let's put it out saying what you don't like doing. Okay, so let's make sure we eliminate that. Okay, you don't like programming, great. Do you like meeting people? Do you like talking to people? Do you enjoy, talking? Yeah, great. Do you always enjoy conceptualizing, saying that, hey, you know what, I had this great idea, but I want to kind of make it and take it to the market or something. You would always have, entrepreneurship comes naturally. A lot of us, when we were youngsters, we probably figured out that, hey, maybe this is a great idea and how do we go scale it out, talk to people. So I think figuring it out and saying that, okay, I can talk to people, this is an idea, I'm always like to come up with a new offer. I worked on this, but I always think that how will people use it? How do I take it to market? Will people be willing to pay for it? I think if you do that, then you can become. So a lot of people eventually start there early on as engineers or whatever you want to start as, but eventually people figure out. I do feel that some amount of knowledge initially in the industry is important for you as a starting thing. Then you can figure out, okay, this is what I want to do. I always have these great ideas, but I don't necessarily enjoy implementing them, but I like to take it out, scale it out, talk to different people and make it possible, right? Like for example, Kritika today made this whole thing possible. She's kind of in a product marketing role, right? But then there are a lot of other people who will do other roles. So I think, so the same elimination parenting theory of saying that how do you mentor and how do you help people figure out their career paths of where they want to get to, and making sure you are connecting them to the right set of people. You go talk to the product marketing director who is there, ask them what do they do in the day of life, see if that's what you want to do, or you just take a chance, go there, rotate for a year, do it, you like it, great, take it forward. You don't like it, you can always try something else.
I'm actually going to pause before you think, because both of y'all are already award winners, right? Because we know that's why you're sitting here. But I'm more concerned, like I coach a lot of women and their chief concern is, listen, I'm already grappling with this 9 to 9 at work. Then I have a 9 to 9 again looking after my home and the personal life aspect of it. How do I just keep abreast with all this technology that's being thrown in my face every third day?
Yeah, actually we were talking about this just before this, right? So I know that everyone is strapped for time, but this is something so important that you need to find the time. Maybe it could be during your work day, between that 9 to 9, you need to find that at least an hour a day where you are actually sort of exploring these options or sort of staying abreast of what is happening externally and stuff, right? I know that time is a constraint, but this is so important in your career that you have to figure out how to get that. So it's like so even fitness, for example, right? People
I was going to
say,
push you that. How many of us have taken that New Year resolution?
Right. So fitness also, we always say that I am short of time, and I am also guilty of this, right? Many times I'll skip the gym because of that. But to stay healthy, we know that this is necessary and you have to carve that time out, even if it is half an hour a day. Similarly, for staying on top of technology, staying on top of the current trends, trying out new things, whether it is on product or figuring out what are the opportunities, you just have to make that time.
Yeah. Right. I'll give you a very easy formula for this. If you can do these steps that I'm going to ask you to do, it's a sure success formula, right? First of all, so first thing starts with aspiration. You have to aspire, you have to have a goal of where you want to get to, right? It can be just as simple as 3 years goal. Start with 3 years. Anything more than 3 years is very difficult to do. 3 years from now, say for example, what is your next third or fourth level role, or whatever role? Assume that you are an engineer today, you want to become product marketing, right? You say, okay, I'm going to probably end up being like an entry or a mid-level product marketing. The first thing is to do a skill differential, saying that today I am here, I have X number of skills, write down your skills and say, okay, this role needs a Y number of skills, and say, what's the difference? What can I take over? What are the delta skills that are really mandatory for me to actually cut across this? So once you know the skill, there are always 3 E's, right? One is education, experience, exposure, right? So figure out what those 3 things are. Education, very easy these days. You just Google for anything. You don't understand certain things, Google for it. You will get information. Udemy is there. A lot of these things are there. Just go find those trainings. A lot of these trainings are very simple. They're half an hour, 45 minutes. Friday afternoons are the great time. Set aside that in your calendar. If you can't spare, if say you're doing a 40-hour work week, 9 to 5, right? If you can't spare 1 hour in that week, be it a Friday, be it a Monday, one afternoon, block your calendar and say, this is my learning thing for this week. Every week, 1 hour, just spare it, sign up that course, go through that course. Second is find someone who is already doing that role, make them your mentor, and then whatever you're going through the course, you'll have a lot of questions, doubts. Go make sure that you're spending about 15 minutes over a coffee with that person every week. That's all you need, right? And say that, hey, I have these questions. Exposure. This is a great exposure. NASSCOM is an exposure event where now they're actually running some of these courses. Go there, ask other people, what will it take for me to be successful? So it really doesn't need much time, right? In an entire week, if you can spare 1.5 hours somewhere, put it on your calendar and find that to make it happen, you will learn. Slowly, once you have that skill, make sure you chart out over a period of 12 months, right? If you can spare that many hours to upskill yourself and you're able to go and get that job, right? It's so important, right? All the courses are available for, on Udemy. It doesn't cost much, 200 rupees, 300 rupees per course, not much, right? I think you can always make an excuse for not having time. Same thing from a fitness perspective. I can tell you, I lost 25 kilos. I used to be about 100 plus kilos I lost. And I've kept it off for the last 6 years, 6 days a week. Without fail, whatever it takes, I make time. Even if I'm traveling everywhere, I carry my running shoes. I somehow squeeze out time to at least walk for half an hour, 40 minutes. If that day I don't work, I make sure I eat less. Somehow I balance it and make sure that I'm keeping off all the hard work that I don't want to gain back, right? It's just a matter of perspective. You can find excuses to not do it, but if you really want to do it, you will do it.
Actually, that is... She's got that right. I mean, if you didn't hear it, I mean, we'll repeat that for you, but if you want to do it, you can really do it. And I think that's where we all suffer the most. But if anybody wants, I have actually an Excel sheet that my coach and mentor, Marshall Goldsmith, gave me, how every week you can put what are the activities you do and how much it'll add up to what your aspirational goal is. And you'll be amazed, we do a lot of frivolous stuff. Right? How many of you all have subscribed to what? Hotstar, Netflix, binge watching? Yeah, all of us. And it's a good outlet. I don't deny it. We need a little downtime also mentally. But binge watching takes a lot of your day. But I urge you, you have only one life to lead. Right? And if you want to binge watch Netflix or, I shouldn't stick onto one, Amazon or whatever. I'm not promoting anybody like she's promoting you. I'm not promoting anybody, right? But I'm just saying sitting in front, there was a reason why it was called an idiot box, right? And when you sat in front of it, you were called a couch potato. There's a reason why. So please shave off that from your day. That Saas Bahu serial is not going to go anywhere. You can come back to it and you should focus on it. And I'm being very forthright with it because we are losing women. We have very aspirational youngsters that come to us, but as we go up the ladder, we're losing them. And we can call it leaking pipeline, bucket, or whatever you want to call it, but it's contributing actually very, very adversely to what. So Kritika and she was talking about 2007, we've started, in fact, I had invited Pallavi for a panel in 2006. She was one of the very few women leaders at that time. And I'm still talking about this today. And we're in 2022, right? I can put any audacious goal out there. It's only people in this room and this exposure that you're getting that you have to carry the next set of people along with you. And you have to promise 2 things for me today, and I'll hand it over to Pradnya. 2 things you promise for me today. One is you will mentor somebody. Right? Can you promise me that? I don't hear it very hard.
Yes.
I'm hard of hearing.
Yes.
The second thing is you don't contribute to the leaking pipeline. Right? If at any point you are struggling, please reach out. Right? I'm more than happy to spend time to see what are the avenues we can give for you. But reach out. Please don't contribute to the leaking pipeline. Stick on that, like exercise goals, we can have health goals, you can have professional health goals also. So stick on to it. These 2 things, if you can do, I think we've solved the world hunger problem.
That's a great point, Geetha. Actually, I wanted to add to what Pallavi was saying earlier on the weekly, the Friday sort of review that you can do, right? Actually, one thing that I have always found whenever I talk to any mentees, whether men or women, one thing I am very surprised by is that many people don't sort of keep track of, say, week on week, month on month, quarter on quarter, right? So what I have found most useful, I always tell them, one is you absolutely have to do a deep annual self-assessment, and this is not for your performance review in your company or anything. It is basically for you to understand what is it that I have learned over the year, what is it that I have grown over the year, have I done something new, where have I grown, and is it towards that aspiration or that goal that I have set for myself 3 years hence, right? So not just annual, I myself do a quarterly review also, okay, what are the new things that I have done this quarter, and that will definitely help you as you're sort of progressing through your career. I don't know whether...
If every year, if you have not grown your skills up by 25 to 50%, you're not doing yourself any favor. As simple as that, right? You really need to have that goal. Every 3 years, you need to be doing something very different from what you were doing 3 years back. You become after 3 years, that work should be very easy for you. It's time to move on, right? All of us feel that we work so hard to get here. I'm so comfortable now, I should sit here. No, it's time to get up and move. Every 3 years, move, make yourself uncomfortable, put yourself into something. And I think this is one of the things I was telling you. Yesterday I was talking to one of the person I was mentoring. The fear of failure. I think women have the highest fear of failure. They don't want to try something because they're scared they're going to fail. Second, they always think they need to know everything before they can put up their hand for something. Same thing when you ask them, they may know 10% of it. They say, we'll figure it out on the fly, and they don't mind saying yes, even though. That's why where you see a lot of women saying, this person who was next to me, he doesn't even have half the skills, but now he's my boss. Yeah, that's because he put up his hand even though he was uncomfortable, right? So 80% of your progression, actually the accountability lies with you, no one else. We can tell a lot of things, the corporates need to fund, support us, our managers need to do, but you are your biggest enemies to start with. Because you don't value yourself, you don't believe in yourself, but how can you expect anyone else to believe in you? So important, never forget this.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to stop, right? We shouldn't talk anything more. Believe in yourself, right? So actually, with Kritika's permission, I'm also going to announce that we're going to have the next Wequity Awards will include women in product champions. Okay? Oh, nice. So we have 5 awards that are going out today. 4 of them go to women, and the 5th one goes to a male ally. But now we're going to have 6 awards, and one of them, and I want your help to define what those Women in Product Champion awards should be. But I think that's very critical because we need to be, how do we celebrate? We need to be rewarded once in a while for all the great work. And you can see that the 2 people on either side richly deserve that award, right? So a big hand of applause for me also.
Or do you want to, I mean, Geetha, do you want their opinion on how should we define it right now, or can they?
We'll pick it up. Shalini is there. She'll do all the grunt work.
Great. Any questions? Any quick question? Anyone? Yes, please go ahead.
Hello? Yeah. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed this panel session. Really enjoyable. I actually come with no background from engineering, no background from tech. I am a social scientist. I have a public health background. And I am so I have service design experience, but I've done more towards the behavioral health interventions. I have been trying to get into the product industry, but what I've always seen in most of the times when it comes to job descriptions or when it comes to, like people like you are really encouraging when it comes to mentorship, but when it comes to actually getting the job, my lack of technical experience as in the engineering field or in anything which is, like I don't have that background, but what I do bring to the table is my domain expertise. Something which I do bring to the table is understanding of, my voice is shaking, of consumer needs. I have the understanding of my methodology. So what's your recommendation? Because the thing which you all mentioned was the fact that multidisciplinary teams are important. How do you actually make that happen? Like, how do you actually break in through such groups?
Exposure. She said that. Exposure. You want to say it again?
I think, see, look, have you heard of user experience? That's a big industry right now. So you're coming from the user experience. Now, every product company who is ever designing product, they are bringing UX, who are non-technical people, basically, yes, they are the ones who actually will help you design a product from actual consumer user interface perspective. So that's exactly how you need to position. So you need to be looking out for a UX kind of a role, not a product marketing role to start with. Right? Getting to a UX role, because UX roles are the ones who are those vertical specialists who will come and design the product at the end from a user interface perspective, and that's what you should be looking for.
So from what I understand is, I have explored that field, so it's more likely for somebody with a clear background in user experience to get into product teams. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, you should position yourself as a user experience. So positioning finally how you are doing it, right? You need to position yourself as user experience, and especially where there is a B2C companies like Swiggy and Uber, those are the right places, because at the end of the day, wherever you are touching consumers, the consumer's behavioral aspect of how they are going to consume, what they would prefer, what exactly are they, that is how you need to write your resume and say, this is my experience, and if you hire, I will help you design your product for the actual end user.
Right. So just to add to that, right? So consumer companies these days are very much interested in behavioral science and how a consumer is experiencing the product, right? And that sounds like that is where your specialization is, right? So it is true that some of these companies might require some, say, 1 or 2 years of experience, but then there are other companies which are okay with, say, either freshers. Sorry, I don't know your experience level. But then there are, say, product internships that you can get in on. You can try out different experiences in the entry level, which are on the consumer experience side. See, one thing I want to clarify is that product has different flavors, okay? Meaning a platform product is very different from a consumer experience or a user backward problem, or say a B2B is going to be a completely different style of product. So there are various flavors of product. So you need to find the right role which builds on your specialization. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
We're running out of time.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Geetha. Thank you so much, everyone. On behalf of NASSCOM, we have planted a tree for all of you, so you'll be getting a certificate for that. So thank you so much for this panel.